So every time people would come home, have nice homemade food, they're like, hey, you should start a food business. You should start a food business. I thought, why not monetize this? So yeah, so that's how we started Game Delicacies.
Awesome.
Yeah,
And what about Game Delicacies stands out or is different from other restaurants?
Game Delicacies is an authentic African we make authentic African traditional dishes. We do not use spices. We make the way it's made at home. Back in Shags, with those, like 3 stones and kunis. So that's how we do. Of course, now here we don't use kunis, but we just make traditional food organic, the way it's from farm to table. Yeah.
As kienyeji
so that's
as
kienyeji,
possible.
as kienyeji as possible. Yeah.
Hello and welcome to the Millennium Mind. My name is Turife, and joining us we have Sophie, who wears a lot of hats, but it would be a huge injustice if I decided to introduce herself. So please introduce yourself. But first of all, thank you so much for making time to come and talk to us. Please introduce yourself and what you do.
Thank you so much. It's actually a pleasure coming here. My name is Sophie Sijenyi. I am a teacher by profession. But I'm a teacher by profession, sorry. I'm an author. I've written 2 books. I am also now an entrepreneur. I run a restaurant called Game Delicacies. Yeah.
Awesome. So which came first? Was it you venturing into the culinary arts, or did teaching and education come first?
No, teaching and education came first. I'm a teacher first. In fact, sometimes when I meet people out there and I tell them I cook these days, they're like, "What? We know you as a teacher."
Exactly.
So I trained as a teacher, and after that, of course, I loved cooking. My mom is a retired chef, and after that, I sat down and I thought, okay, why can't I do something to do with culinary arts? Yeah.
And when you say teacher, where exactly? Because teacher is a huge spectrum. It's a huge umbrella that covers a lot of things. What exactly do you teach, and what's the age bracket that you nurture people?
I first, when I started this journey of teaching, I started as a kindergarten teacher. Then I went to primary, and I up to heading a school, a whole school. But now I train teachers. So I work with an institution called Institute of Teachers Professional Development. So it's ITPD. I train teachers on different aspects like classroom management, something called Jolly Phonics. We also do, like, our main aim is to train people who take care of children. So we also do nannies and caregivers training. So we do many things, yeah.
Okay.
So that is what came first. Then now after, of course, I co-authored a book called The Wise, Questions that are frequently asked by teens and preteens, out of the passion that I have for teaching. And then now I authored a book recently, last year, called Understanding Your Child. So it's a guide for parents and teachers.
Okay, so we have seen the trajectory, but before we get to that, you've mentioned something that actually stood out for me. And when I was reading up on you, this is the thing, I was like, what is this? What is Jolly Phonics?
Oh, Jolly Phonics. Jolly Phonics is literature. It's literacy, reading, teaching, reading and writing. It's an initial, it's a foundational stage of teaching children literacy, English, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So now we have seen you start by teaching kindergarten, go to primary school, and now teaching the teachers. How has that transition been, and how has that informed you? For one, you could say it's my experience dealing with teachers, so I think I can give you some wisdom. But what is the importance of training, teachers and caregivers to deal with children, especially at a very young age?
At a young age. First is just understanding the fact that I understand the field of teaching, and I understand child psychology. So it's important for me to impact the knowledge that I have to the caregivers and teachers, so that because I know what it feels like, or what it means for you to teach. So it's easy for me to, when I teach the teachers, I know exactly what I need to pass across for them to also pass across to the children.
Yeah. Okay. And then from that, you're now authoring books. How has that experience been?
It's nice. Initially, I co-authored, like I told you, my first book was co-authored. I co-authored it with my lecturer, my university lecturer, on preteens and teens, because I work a lot in church also with teenagers and youth. And so I thought of their questions that they ask, a lot of questions that they ask that their parents, you as a parent, cannot answer. So it's something that I thought about it, and when I had a discussion with my lecturer, we thought about, because she also has a passion for teenagers and preteens, so we thought, why not come up with a question, the whys. So these are questions that are frequently asked by teens and preteens. So if you look at our book, it has questions, simple questions like who am I, self-identity. Then now we put their possible answers just to help the children or the teenagers and preteens understand the question that might be ringing in their heads. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I do see, you know, what you're doing and the efforts you're making towards understanding and making, you know, teenagers or rather growing adults understand what they're stepping into. But at the same time, there's the modern day teenager or the modern day child who's just plagued with a lot of things. You can't even compare to, I'm not calling you old, but you growing up. You really cannot compare.
Yeah.
There's technology, there's, even if you're very strict in your household about there's no television, there's no tab, there's no phones. When they go to school, they interact with people who have access to all of this. So there's just a lot of pressure. And then there are now parents who are now very self-aware. There are parents who are aware of their triggers and their traumas, and sometimes they're careful, or maybe too careful, of not inflicting the same cycle on their children. So there's just a lot that goes on with growing adults and children currently. What would you say is the thing that you could advise them? What's the one thing you could say to people in this generation, specifically in this generation, who are raising children and also children who are just being raised by parents in this generation?
Actually, I like that question, because that is what led to my second book, Understanding Your Child. And especially in this generation, we don't understand our children. You just don't understand your child. So it's a guide that it guides parents and teachers for you to understand your child from birth, actually from conception, from the time you conceive, what you go through, the hormonal imbalance in your system, up to when your child is 18, when they can stand on their own. So this is a guide for parents, just to tell you what to expect, especially for first-time parents. Then now, the whys, the first book is what birthed the second book, because parents were reading the whys, and it's actually designed for students, for children to read, for them to answer their questions, to get their questions answered. But now, when parents went through that book, they were like, okay, I think we need a book also for us to understand these children. So that's like I said before, that is what,
so
yes, yes. So the solution is here. So guide for you to understand your child. This is what your child goes through. Yeah, so that is how my second book was birthed.
Okay.
Yeah.
And it sounds like a very fulfilling journey, to be honest. You know, just impacting such a huge amount of people. But what would you say are the challenges you've experienced, especially as a teacher or somebody in education, and not just educating children, but educating people who are supposed to nurture them also?
It's a lot. Most of the challenges that we face is the information and the knowledge that we give the students or the children, it's contrary to what they're given at home. So you teach them black, this is black, and they're taught at home, this is gray. So it's so hard to undo, okay, what they are taught. I think that's the greatest challenge. Another challenge is education has become so hard. Technology has affected education, but in a way. I'm sure someone out there will think, how? I think technology is making education better, but children are relying so much on technology, and they're coming out of the things that we were taught when we were young. Yeah, so the greatest challenge is partnership between parents and teachers. That's the greatest challenge that we are facing in the education field.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. That's very noteworthy. What is enforced in school should also be enforced at home.
At home,
and vice versa.
Mm-hmm.
So now you've been in education. It sounds like you have your hands full. You're authoring and co-authoring books.
Mm-hmm.
How did you find yourself, getting into the restaurant business? You have mentioned your mother being an inspiration, but there's also another push for you. And what was it?
Okay, first, I'll talk about my mother. I'll talk about my restaurant, Game Delicacies. I come from a place in Siaya County called Game.
Mm-hmm.
My mom also comes from the same place, and my mom my mom is passionate about food industry and just making people satisfied and hospitality.
Mm-hmm.
So when my mom retired and went to the village,
Mm-hmm.
she sort of closed down her business, and it didn't make her happy. So that thing has really bothered me for quite some time until last year. I thought that I should revive my mom's passion and dream and vision. So Game Delicacies is actually, I'm carrying forward my mom's vision of having a restaurant. Then another thing that also pushed me into starting Game Delicacies is I love hosting. So every time people would come home, have nice homemade food, they're like, hey, you should start a food business. You should start a food business. I thought, why not monetize this? So yeah, so that's how I started Game Delicacies.
Awesome.
Yeah.
And what about Game Delicacies stands out or is different from other restaurants?
Game Delicacies is an authentic African we make authentic African traditional dishes. We do not use spices. We make the way it's made at home. Back in Shags, with those, like 3 stones and kunis. So that's how we do. Of course, now here we don't use kunis, but we just make traditional food organic, the way it's from farm to table. Yeah.
As kienyeji
so that's
as
kienyeji,
possible.
as kienyeji as possible. Yeah.
Okay, and what has the reception been? Because I think even before the show started, somebody had mentioned, you guys don't have chips, hamana pizza. So especially in Nairobi, and you said you're based in Komarok.
Yes, we are.
What has the reception been for you serving African and authentic and very, for lack of a better term, kienyeji dishes? And then here comes the new age people. The older people will appreciate it. But for the younger demographic, what has the reception been?
I like that question, and I actually liked it when someone asked me about it. So the reception has been, first it was positive. So the first, I think, 3 months, Game Delicacy started in February last year. So this year we celebrated our first anniversary. So the first 2 months I was so skeptical. I didn't even have the fryer, the chips fryer. But every time parents would walk in, they ask for fish, they ask for matumbo, they ask for omena. Then their kids are left there hanging. So parents would go like, you guys need to sell things that are children friendly. Yeah, so we started out of our clientele demand. We started now selling chips, sausage, samosa, and we are venturing into pizza and other things that kids love. Yeah.
Okay, and you're not afraid that it will water down the initial vision?
That's actually my worry, but we are hoping that it won't. It will not, because we are known for African traditional food. Even online, we are known for that. Yes.
Okay, and speaking now of vision, I feel like we have had this conversation before the cameras even turned on. But speaking of vision, you did mention how frustrating it can be when you trust other people with your vision. And you're carrying a lot of hats. You're in education, you're authoring books, so sometimes it's a bit difficult for you to be all over at the same time, being hands-on in all your businesses. So how has that experience been, letting go and letting others carry on your vision and trusting yourself not to be frustrated when they let you down?
Wow, it's hard. It's hard to entrust someone with your vision. A good example is like I said, we are an authentic, organic, kienyeji restaurant. And sometimes you entrust your people that this is what they'll do. And then you come and find that we thought of adding some spices. And you're like, no, you're not supposed to add any spice. This food is supposed to be organic. So anyway, yeah, so it's so hard for people to just buy or run with your vision. So it's important for you to be there. But I thank God that I have a support system that is really working, and they're trying to push through my vision. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And you know, sometimes we have seen the statistics, especially when it comes to restaurants, and how short of a shelf life it can be, because there's just a lot of factors that come into having a restaurant. But so far, how has your experience been?
We do a lot of marketing, word of mouth, yeah. And in fact, before I even went into social media and online sales, I made sure and ensured I spoke to my staff so that we do things that we make food in a way that when people come and have their food, they go out there and speak great about game delicacies. So we do a lot. We don't lower our standards. So our standards remain the same. Yeah.
Okay. And it's one thing to offer authentic and, you know, very true to game. You know, there's that thing you want to serve to your consumers, but there's also, I don't know how to put it, you know, what you want versus what is expected from the customer. I feel like sometimes when somebody walks into a restaurant, they have something in their mind, but you have something else in your mind. How are you able to fuse those two? Because they feel like, I want fish, but without the fishy smell. And at the same time, you're like, that's not possible, you know? We have seen even like international restaurants, the ones on TVs, somebody saying they wanted like an eggless egg. You know, people come with expectations of what they want from a restaurant, and they want those expectations met. So for you as the person behind the kitchen and trying to give the people who come into your restaurant that experience, how does that go about for you?
Wow. I get a lot of that. Our signature dish is fish and a dish called atola. Maybe you're going to ask me this, but that's our signature dish. So atola, the way it's made, it's supposed to be, ideally atola is meat that is supposed to be sun-dried. You know, like completely sun-dried. Then when it's ready, it's made. So you make stew out of it. But because of now, of course, weather and many other factors, we roast that meat. So we grill it. We make it nicely, and we use, there's a spice called meti. Okay, these are secrets that I'm giving you, kitchen secrets.
It's okay. I hope we will not use them.
I hope the restaurants out there will not use it. So you see, so when this is brought, so atola basically will be dark. So the meat, when it's roasted, it will be dark. So when it's made, the stew will be slightly dark. So when it's brought, someone will see it on the menu and they'll be like, okay, this is your signature dish, I want to try it. You bring atola to the table and they look at it, they're like, what is this? You know, because they don't understand. So we get a lot of that. And I like the question of fish. My fish should not smell. So you are like, fish, this is the smell of fish.
Like fish.
Yeah. So we get a lot of those. Ours is just to explain to especially my waiters, my workers, when someone who doesn't look like is coming from our area, but when they ask for something, we ask them, are you sure this is what it is? So that when we bring it to the table, you don't say that this was not my expectation. So when someone comes and says that I want fresh fish, because I think most of us know fish that is deep fried, then now we made stew out of it. But there's fresh fish straight from the lake to the pot. So it comes out that fresh grayish, you know. So when someone says that this is the fish I want, so when it's brought to the table, they're like, no, this is not what I wanted. So we explain to them, we explain to our clients, we tell them that this is how the fish. Then I also use pictorial, a lot of pictorial. My restaurant menu has pictures so that they see it and order that. But we prepare them psychologically.
Exactly. What I ordered versus what I get.
Versus what I get, yeah.
And you have mentioned, because you opened the door, I will go right through, about the slight profiling that is needed sometimes by your staff, you know, to kind of gauge where this customer is, what they're asking for and what the expectations are. And speaking about the same profiling, now when it comes to you hiring your staff, because I believe for you to sell whatever you're selling, you have to have some sort of, you know, knowledge.
Yes.
So what goes into you hiring your staff and now training them? do you feel the need for like, yeah, you're coming for the job, but you might not understand, you know, what we are doing here. So unless you're going to have intensive training, you know, or learn on the job, how do you hire your staff now?
Staffing. We do a lot. I have a HR team. So what we do a lot, especially people who've worked in such setups before, people who understand what this means. Then when we bring them in, we do a lot of in-house training. A lot of them. Like on a weekly basis, we have someone to come and just train them on customer care, train them on food delivery, food safety, food hygiene. So we do a lot of training. And also when they're coming in, we ensure that these are people with experience, people who've experienced this field before. So that especially in handling customers, so you need to know how to explain to the customer. Then we also make sure that they eat the food, so that they know the taste, and so that what the customer expects, they can answer the questions.
So that thing are not lost in translation, because that's usually the most tragic part. You see a restaurant is really good, this is what they're offering, but you talk to the wait staff and a lot of things are, you know, lost in translation. Like, if you don't know what you guys are doing, why should I also eat here? So that's also very important. So now when it comes to your restaurant business, we have seen the vision behind it. We've seen the motive. It's you trying to, you know, revive your mother's dream and just let it live on. And it's also a passion project for you. But what are those things that have really stood out for you and made you feel like, baby, this actually feels right, now feels correct, and it feels like I'm doing what I'm supposed to be doing?
Customers' reviews. Wow. They make me happy. Luckily, okay, when we started, we used to struggle a lot with feedback. Okay, so when a customer gives us feedback, we're like, Kwani, we've not tried. See, we did our best. But now customers' feedback. Sometimes a customer will be so harsh and they tell us the way it is, then we improve on it. And we've been getting very good reviews. Especially, I tell my staff that when a customer says something, let's evaluate and work even better.
Don't take it personal.
Don't take it personal. So customers' reviews have kept us going.
Okay. And you have talked about marketing, and this is actually usually a challenge, especially when it comes to restaurants. How do I put myself out there? How do I reach the correct demographic? So, you know, on your end, what have you been doing to make sure, apart from, you know, word of mouth and referral, how else do you put yourself out there?
We're on social media. We are on Facebook and Instagram. We also do a lot of online deliveries. We are on Bolt Food and Glovo. So our customers also order from us. Of course, WhatsApp status. Sometimes I'm so happy seeing my staff so enthusiastic about it, about putting out their status, something on their status. When we do also, we do a lot of outside catering, by the way. So when we are out there and we take videos and photos and are posted, you see them putting on their status. So a lot of social media has worked for us also. Social media marketing.
Awesome. And you had we had mentioned how you started off. It sounds very nice and very lovely, you know. It was my mother's dream. It's a very beautiful story. But now when you get into the business and you're in the thick of it and the rose tinted glasses come off and you're like, where? This is interesting. This is now business. What would you say are those challenges you've experienced in the restaurant business so far?
I'll say something that everyone is saying now. The economy has really hit us hard, especially in January. I think people were not eating out.
People are budgeting.
You're taking your child to school. You're taking your child to school and you'd rather eat at home. So the economy has really hit us. So this has really, really pushes us to the wall. I think basically it's just the economy and diversity, understanding. Komarok has a lot of, it's a, what is it called? Is it a cosmopolitan area? So you find that people want to shift you from what your vision was, like the question you're asking me first. It's to sell authentic, organic food. But people will be like, your food is so natural. Use a bit of spices. So just satisfying all the clientele, it becomes so hard. And yeah, those are the challenges that we are facing. And those are the, like I said before, my fear is for me to drift from my vision, which is just organic food, to now start using spices. Because now we've started doing pilau also because of the coastarians around. And you see, of course, pilau, you use a lot of other additional spices to just make it spicy and nice. People are asking for biryani. You see, these are things that now will force me to now divide the restaurant and say, okay, the Swahili dishes and game delicacies this idea. So those are the challenges that we are facing, just pleasing everyone and having like people around there, because I think we are the only restaurant, we're in a mall. Yeah, so we are the only restaurant at K Mall. So when people come, when parents come to shop or to do stuff, other stuff, they want to come for a bite, and they find that, okay, this is not what we expected. We expected something else. So we are trying to also bring in other things into our menu. So the biggest challenge is for me to just know how to divide it. So it might not be game delicacies for food from Western and Nyanza region, but maybe African delicacies or something like that. Yeah.
Awesome. And would you like blame all of this on Westernization, because these are the foods you're supposed to be eating? They're healthy, there are no preservatives or additives. What would you say is the reason people are more inclined for the faster option, the fast food option? I want fries and chicken, I want pizza. What would you say is the motive behind that psychology?
I don't know how to answer that, but
in a politically correct way.
Yeah, I think if maybe I'll go back to why again game delicacies. I've walked to places, and sometimes you walk in a restaurant and you want to eat, you want to bring a home feeling into the restaurant, and you fail to have it. People are like that, but now the kids, our children, what we are serving at home versus what is served out there. So your kids are used to eating fast food. So when you come to an organic restaurant like Game Delicacies, then they are forced to eat what they see on TV, what they hear, what is served in school and all that. So they're drifting slowly, and the Westernization is actually scrapping off our culture.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. It's actually a political thing. It's a topic. Yeah, but I feel like a lot of eating a lot of Western food is really getting us away from our culture.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. And especially when it comes to like traditional greens, like mboga kienyeji. When you put it on the table, the kids are like, "Oh, Mom, what's this?"
I have the same problems. Like, I don't want greens.
I don't want greens. And there's one mrenda, you know, the way it's slimy and all that.
That's disgusting.
Yeah, even at home, they don't eat it, like they don't like it. Yeah, so it's disgusting. So, yeah. So I think what maybe I can advise people is just try not to get your kids out of how you are brought up. Yeah?
Yeah. It's the healthier option.
It's the healthier option, yeah.
Okay. I think my advice to you is just to stay strong and believe that your demographic will find you and will stay true to what you're serving, because I feel like it's a very good idea. It's a very good concept to just specifically and exclusively serve organic food. I feel people will get on that very soon. Health is the new word, is the new reach. There's nothing better than, you know, being healthy in the long run. But now I want to ask a very personal question. You're serving fish. I believe there's nothing as sweet as a Sunday afternoon where you're waiting for fish to be delivered. But there's also the delivery person who is delivering this delicacy. You know, there's always, we've seen those horror stories on the internet. How do you make sure that the riders that are delivering your food are not waylaid in the middle? Or how do you make sure that the time it leaves your restaurant and the time it gets to the consumer, it's in a good condition?
We have our own designated riders, like Game Delicacies riders, that when clients who don't feel like ordering from Bolt or Glovo, when they call us directly, so we know, we tell the rider, this client lives in this place, and this is the minutes that it will take you. So we have our own. It's just having your own, like part of your staff. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And also Glovo and Bolt monitor their riders.
Yes.
So they have a way of knowing that, okay, the food is ready by this time, it should get the client's house by this time. And that has been communicated to the client. And we also do the same. So when a client calls me and asks me that this is the food I want, they place their order. So I tell them that, okay, the food will take this minutes to prepare, and it will take this number of minutes to get to your place. And that is the same communication, unless there are other factors that affect the delivery of food, like rain, of course, and all that weather. Yeah. So unless there are other factors, you give the client expectation on when to expect their food. Yeah, so far so good. I think, but the most important thing is to work with designated riders, not just any kawaida.
Yes.
Yeah.
People who will
Yeah.
scam you and steal from you.
Yeah, because they also know how to handle food. Yeah?
Yeah.
So food handling is very key, very key. So you don't just get anyone to deliver food for you. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And lastly, there's this emerging trend of tipping. Tipping is when the service is exceptionally good. But these days, we have seen where tipping is becoming an obligation. It's becoming a mandatory thing. What is your policy on tipping, especially in the restaurant business? We've seen the clash between the wait staff and management, talking about you should share your tip across everybody who didn't even get. So what's your policy?
Actually, don't even talk about it. I don't talk about it. I tell my staff, go out there, impress. You'll get paid. You'll get tipped. Go impress. Work as if today is your last day. And like the other day, I don't even know if they're tipped, but trust me, it's something that is very funny. In fact, the other day my friend was telling me that you don't even ask them. I said, no, it's not my money. As long as I get my share, that's it. So the other day, one of my wait staff was tipped, and I was at the counter. So she brought the wallet to me, the bill wallet to me, and then she looked at me like, the money, the excess money is mine. I'm like, I'm just taking mine, don't worry.
Exactly.
So it's not a policy. I don't tell them to expect that from the clients, but I just tell them to go there, be smart, have good customer service, and you'll get some tips, some good money.
Yeah, that is awesome.
Yeah, but now the problem is I'm told that the ladies are tipped more than the gents, so well, unfortunate.
Equality and whatnot. Well, there's that.
So I try as much as possible to, especially the people who work at the back end, the chefs, just to give them something also for them to also feel like, hey, we are being tipped behind the scenes. Yeah, just to motivate them also.
Okay, awesome. And how do we phrase this? Because you wear so many hats. There's so many things that you're doing. You're an education consultant, but you're also in the service industry. So let's ask it as a personal question. You as Sophie, where do you see yourself in 5 to 10 years? What's the vision and what's the goal?
In 5 to 10 years, because of my background of being an educationist, I want to have a culinary arts school. Yeah.
Okay,
so
where the two are blended.
The two are blended into one, yeah. So where we teach and we also cook. Yeah.
Awesome. That is very lovely to hear. So where can we find you on social media, and what is your physical location?
My physical location is in Komarok, K Mall. There's only one mall in Komarok. That's it's on Kangundo Road. It's between phase 5, both phase 5, because there's phase 5 A and B. So Komarok first floor. There's Game Delicacies. We are well branded, so you can't miss us. Our social media handles are Instagram, Game Delicacies, Instagram, and Facebook, Game Delicacies. Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Thank
Glovo and Uber Eats. Glovo and Bolt Food, Game Delicacies.
They will find you there.
You'll find me there.
That is so awesome.
Yeah.
So if you're in the market for fresh and organic food, there's no other place other than Game Delicacies. You can clearly see there was a vision, there was passion behind every dish that she puts out. So hope you guys get to actually go and visit her and get to know her. My name is Tarife, and until next week, goodbye.